All right, welcome to the FA40 podcast. I'm your host, Josh Proch, and today we're going to do a little Q&A. We've been getting some questions from members and things like that about some of the things that we did. So I was thinking what we do is we take some of these questions and drop them into some of our episodes here over the next few weeks and things like that. So today, as we get into it, we have two questions that we're going to go over. One is why strength training over cardio? And the other one is, are rest periods really that important? So we're going to talk about these both here. But before we get into that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the gym here this month. We're about halfway through the month. And, the weather's starting to get nice. We're, starting to see more and more people coming in, starting to think about fitness and things like that, which is always nice. And getting busier in here. Weather, it's nice. The sun's out. Sun's up early in the morning, so it's not as hard getting in for those early morning workouts and things like that. And also, we have our 10,000K step challenge going on right now. And with this, the goal is for each of our members that are participating in it to get 10,000 steps a day or as many as possible. We have some that they're, getting 7,000, 8,000, things like that. But it's basically just to create a habit of being more active throughout the day. And then we're tracking those, and then at the end, the ones we're going to draw, or the people that have the most steps, the two of them, they're going to get some prizes and stuff here. So, again, that's one of our things going on this month. We've got a couple here coming up in May, a couple more challenges to help people get ready for summer. So be looking for those here coming out over the next week or so. All right, so our first question. Why strength training over cardio? And we see with a lot of clients, they've done a lot of cardio in the past, and a lot of people tend to think that they need to only do cardio or they need to do more cardio to help them lose fat, lose weight, get leaner, things like that. But really, the opposite is actually true of that to an extent. I know a lot of people think that, we are anti-cardio and we're not. It's just kind of having the order. So when we look at training and exercise, we kind of have to prioritize things and put it into a little bit of like a pyramid of what is most effective, then next effective, and then underneath that with least effective. So when we look at that, our most effective and what our base of like the pyramid would be our strength training. And that's the first thing that we're looking to get in for everybody to get in. Now, how many days per week with this is all going to depend on your availability. There is kind of a cap on that. Typically 4 days a week would be a cap on that in most cases. But for some people, it might only be 2 days a week with the strength training. It all depends on how many days a week and how much time you're able to dedicate to exercising. So if you only have 1 or 2 hours a week, even up to 3 hours per week, and that's all that you have to really dedicate to fitness, then those 3 workouts need to be strength training. Once we move past the strength training and you've got in 3 or maybe you've got 4, that's where we can start adding in some HIIT training, some interval training, some of that conditioning work, things like that. We can add, up to maybe 2 sessions of that. Most of those things, a session is going to be somewhere around a half hour ish, depending on the intensity and things there. If it's like one of our boot camp classes and things like that, you can take that a little bit longer just because the intensity is not quite as high on it and as like running sprints or doing some all-out exertion things. And when I say the intensity is not as high, what I mean there is the stress and the intensity on the nervous system isn't as high as when you're like sprinting or doing like max speed movements and things like that. So then after that, that's where our cardio comes in. And cardio is one of those things that you could really do it every day if you're getting the other things in. But we at least want that strength in first, and because that's going to give us the most bang for our buck. So when we talk about cardio, a lot of people think like, oh, I've got to go out and jog, I've got to do things like different things like that. My heart rate's got to be a certain percentage and everything there. And what we're really looking for with cardio is getting the heart rate up. But it doesn't have to be jogging. I really prefer a lot of people just walking. In fact, that's what I do. The days that I'm not lifting is I just get on a treadmill and I only do a half hour. I know Tammy, she likes to go for about an hour. The half hour works for me. So it's a kind of an individual preference. I mean, the hour's definitely probably better than the half hour. But what I'd like to do is it's not just one pace that whole half hour. I'm changing it. So right now I kind of do every 2 minutes. I'm doing at a faster speed, and then for 2 minutes I go slower, and I just keep alternating that for the whole half hour. So to give you an example, I'll start out at like 3.4 and then I'll go up to 3.8 and I just keep going back and forth from there. Some others that I've done is I'll do 1 minute at like 3.2 and then I'll do 2 minutes at 3.2 and then 3 minutes at 3.8 there and repeat that for the half hour. Some I kind of escalate up, start at 3.2 and then go up, another 0.2 miles per hour and keep working myself up to till I get to about 4 miles per hour. So every 3 minutes, bumping that up. And then once you do the 3 minutes at 4, bumping that back down by 0.2 of a mile per hour every 3 minutes, coming down until you finish out the 30 minutes. So you're kind of changing heart rate, changing pace and things like that. And I find that works well for me. I enjoy that. I can usually jump on there, listen to a podcast and some things like that, and then my body feels good with it. That makes me feel better going into my strength workout the next day and everything like that. So. But the other thing with the strength stuff, why it's first, is it creates a higher demand on our body's muscles, and our muscles control the metabolism. So the strength training stimulates the muscles much more than interval training does, and even cardio training and everything like that. So when we get that higher demand on the muscles, that's going to stimulate the metabolism. It's going to help muscle tissue grow. That's going to increase our metabolism, so we're burning more calories through every activity that we're doing throughout the day. And then the other thing is the strength training actually will make our bodies function better and move better and be stronger in day-to-day activities. So they make our bodies more resilient. We're less prone to experiencing injuries, different things like that. So we want that strength training first, and then from there we can drop in some of that interval training and cardio, and that's our reasoning behind that. The second question here is, are rest periods really that important? So on your workout sheets, you probably notice we'll have 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever. It just depends what stage, what phase you're on in the program and your goals and everything like that. But one of the things that we see is a lot of people, they want to kind of I need to keep moving and not taking that rest period. And what that does is that kind of makes that strength training cardio. And even though we're lifting weights, what we want is those rest periods are in there to allow our body to recover, so that when we come back into that set, we are now able to lift more weight, and we don't have, we've recovered from that fatigue a little bit. So when we look at sets and reps, basically the higher the reps, the shorter the rest period, because it's not as taxing on the neurological system. Where the lower the reps, the longer the rest period is going to be there. And that's also why we'll pair things. So maybe we'll have a chest press, and then we'll have a kettlebell deadlift or kettlebell swing with that. And the reason for that is we'll do the chest presses, rest 60 seconds, do the kettlebell swings, rest 60 seconds before we're back to those chest presses. And the reason for that is that's given us about 2.5 minutes before we come back to that chest press. So we're a little bit better recovered on that. And by being more recovered, we're able to lift more weight, and that's going to create a greater stimulation. So one of the comments I heard is well, I'm not really concerned about lifting all that much weight. And that's completely all right. How much weight you're lifting is all relative. But the idea behind it is the stronger we are, the more weight that we are using, the greater metabolic changes we're going to get on the body, and that's going to help our bodies change faster. So that's what we're really after there. And the weight that we're using is all relative to each person and each person's strength. And even if the weight, sometimes it won't be super heavy, but we'll be doing the reps slow, where we're coming down slow, pausing, and then coming back up. And again, by being able to go a little bit slower with that, holding that pause and getting really focused on that move, because we're recovered a little bit and not as fatigued where we're going faster, that's going to create more time under tension on the muscle. And then that in turn is going to create a greater metabolic demand and everything on the muscle, which is again what we're after there. So biggest thing to keep in mind, the higher the reps, the shorter the rest periods, the lower the reps, the longer the rest periods. And that's kind of counter intuitive for a lot of people, because when we're doing the higher reps, it feels harder. When you're doing the lower reps, it feels like, I'm recovered a little bit faster, but it's that the nervous system is where that taxing happens, and that's a different type of fatigue, and it's not that like heavy breathing or that burning in the muscle that we associate with the higher rep stuff. So that's why we like the rest periods in there. They are important. There is a science behind them, and they're programmed into your programs for a specific reason, and that's why we encourage you to take those. So that's our episode for today. Like I said, we're going to go through some questions. If you guys have questions, just submit them. You can drop them into the comments of the show here. You can even just send them over to us in an email. The email is info@pittsburghnorthfitness.com. Just drop questions in there. We'll be glad to answer them, throw them into the show, things like that. So again, if you guys are enjoying this, give us a review, share it with your friends. That all helps us out, helps us just reach more people. So, all right, until next week, I will talk to you then. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and rate and review us.